Welcome to your ultimate guide to meditation for beginners. You're about to learn everything that you will ever need to know to meditate successfully, based on my 20 plus years of experience as a meditation practitioner and coach. You're going to discover different meditation techniques and different ways of breathing in meditation. I'll share my top tips. I'll help you overcome many of the challenges that people face with meditation, and you'll even hear some of the hilarious and in some instances quite painful mistakes that I myself have made as a meditation practitioner. Does that sound good to you? Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and let's begin. First of all, what is meditation? Well, if you look online, you'll find a ton of different definitions. But my favorite definition is that it is the cultivation of awareness. When we meditate, we cultivate different forms of awareness. Think about mindful breathing. We're focusing the mind on the breath, and therefore we're cultivating the awareness of the breath, which leads to things like relaxation and stress relief. Or maybe you're doing loving kindness, in which case you're cultivating awareness of the qualities of love and compassion and so on. Or maybe you're doing open awareness, which is a fabulous technique for creativity, in which case you're opening your mind to the entirety of your surroundings, cultivating awareness of your environment in the present moment. Now that's meditation in a nutshell, but there are many different techniques. So let's begin with a look at some of the best forms of meditation for beginners. Zen walking, otherwise called Kinhin. Zen walking, or Kinhin, is a wonderfully easy and relaxing exercise for beginners. It's a form of mindful movement, that type of exercise that incorporates other techniques such as Tai Chi and Qigong. However, Zen walking is a lot easier. In Zen walking, all we essentially do is slowly walk up and down a straight path, and while we're walking, we pay close attention to the movement in our legs. Studies show that Zen walking can help to reduce anxiety and stress and to even improve sleep. It does this by promoting activity of the parasympathetic nervous system while simultaneously lowering cortisol levels, the stress hormone. However, what makes Zen walking so blinking good for beginners is the fact that even if you completely forget to do the meditation part, you'll still be walking. And walking by itself is good for your mental health, especially if you happen to do it somewhere relaxing like a beautiful nature reserve. Indeed, when I'm stressed or when I get just a little bit down, I'll put my shoes on, head out the door, go to a nearby park, and just do a little bit of walking. I can choose whether I want to do Zen walking and pay attention to the movement in my legs, or just, generally walk and be mindful of the relaxing scenery. Either way, it's really good for your mental health. Number 4, Trataka or candle gazing. Trataka, or otherwise called candle gazing, is a form of meditation in which we simply keep our gaze held still while focusing at an object directly ahead. It's traditionally done by focusing on the flame of a candle. However, you can focus on anything that's plain and simple. For instance, you can just put a little mark on a wall and gaze straight ahead at that. Studies show that by holding our gaze still, we reduce neural activity, and that in turn helps us to focus, and of course focus is one of the big challenges for beginner meditators, hence why Trataka is such a good technique for beginners. There's also some really cool and perhaps unexpected benefits of this technique. For instance, I once taught Trataka meditation to a professional gamer in order to improve their aim. Because Trataka improves focus and also improves hand-eye coordination, it actually makes gamers have better aim. So that's just one of many unexpected benefits. Why not try it and let me know what benefits you notice. Number 3, visualization meditation. Visualization meditation is a technique in which we use our imagination to visualize different things. For instance, your quintessential visualization meditation involves imagining or visualizing relaxing nature scenes. Let's say, for example, that you visualize that you're standing on warm sands, hearing the swoosh of the waves, as all around you is nothing but an expanse of blue ocean and sky. And so, by imagining such scenes, we relax. Which is also really cool, because if you think about it, it means that we have in our mind the ability to just create different scenes and to imagine that we're there, and by doing so, we'll relax and reduce stress. And so we have in our mind the ability to heal ourselves just by imagining certain things. Some people do like to visualize achieving certain goals. For instance, perhaps you visualize getting promoted at work. I advise beginners against doing that. And the reason is this. Studies show that when we visualize having achieved success, we actually convince the mind that we have already achieved that success, and therefore that we don't need to strive towards it. Now, there are good ways to visualize yourself achieving certain things. They're just a lot more complex than many people realize. That's why, for beginners, you might like to just visualize a relaxing nature scene. Number 2, mindful breathing. You knew mindful breathing had to be somewhere on this list. It is the quintessential form of meditation in which we focus our awareness on the breath. Many people think that meditation is just mindful breathing and that that is the only technique, which is, of course, far from the truth. I myself, 20 years ago, when I first got into meditation, thought that the entire practice was just mindful breathing, but there's a ton of different techniques, as we've explored a little bit here. Mindful breathing is all about just observing the movement of the breath through the body, and there's various ways in which to do that. For instance, try this very quick box breathing technique. Breathe in through your nose to a count of 4. And pause for 4. Breathe out of the mouth for 4. Again, pause for 4, and repeat. And if you did that while observing your breath, I'm confident that you already feel a little bit more relaxed than you were before. Scientific research proves that there are a ton of benefits of mindful breathing. It reduces anxiety, stress, depression. It improves emotional awareness and emotional control. It reduces cortisol levels. It balances dopamine levels. It reduces activity of the sympathetic nervous system while promoting activity of the parasympathetic nervous system. It balances hemispheres of the brain. There's a lot of benefits to it. And so you might wonder, wow, if mindful breathing is so blinking beneficial, Paul, then why is it not number 1 on your list? Well, here's why. Many beginners find it difficult to focus on something as subtle as the breath. If you think about the breath, it's pretty quiet. There's not a lot of physical sensations involved. You can't see it. There's not a lot there for your mind to focus on. And so, just mindful breathing is actually a little bit challenging for beginners because it doesn't give you enough to focus on. With that in mind, let me present to you numero 1, Soham meditation. Soham meditation is mindful breathing with a twist. So in Soham meditation, just as in mindful breathing, we are observing the breath. The one difference is that we use, well, it's called a mantra, but it's... Anyway, so in Soham meditation, we make the sound so, making the sound so on the out-breath and hum on the in-breath, which, by the way, is the natural sound that the breath makes. It's just accentuated a little bit. So, and that tiny little change of slightly vocalizing the sound of the breath gives you a lot more to focus on. Do it. So, and you'll notice there's more sound, there's more physical sensation, there's simply more of a sensory experience, and because of that, your mind has more to focus on, and it is easier for beginners to concentrate so that they can meditate, which is why Soham meditation is my #1 meditation technique for beginners. There's also a cool meaning to the word Soham, although for me the mantra isn't really about the meaning, but there is a cool meaning. It means I am that. I am that means I, individual, am that universe. And so that kind of reminds us as well that we're one with everything, which is a really good philosophy and mindset with which to start meditating. You now know some of the best meditation techniques for beginners, and you might have noticed how 2 of those techniques were breathing meditations. Breathing is very important in meditation. Whether or not you're doing a specific meditation in which you are focusing on the breath, or if you're focusing on something else, you still need to breathe properly. There are different ways to control your breath in meditation, and different philosophies regarding doing so. With that in mind, let's take a look at some of the best breathing techniques to use regardless of whatever form of meditation you're doing. Your breath is perhaps your #1 tool for relaxation. There are many exercises that involve using the breath to create certain states of mind. Take, for instance, our first exercise, 4-7-8 breathing. Take a deep breath in through your nose to a count of 4. Then pause for 7. Breathe out of the mouth for 8. And repeat. Making the out breath longer than the in breath activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowers heart rate, improves focus, and balances oxygen and carbon dioxide levels. And all of that helps with problems such as stress and anxiety. It's based on the yogic breathing techniques of pranayama, which have existed since the 6th century BCE, and it is backed by considerable scientific research. Cyclic sighing. Continue to breathe in those counts of 4, 7, 8. Make a gentle sighing sound. Focus on the sound as you exhale. Sighing releases emotions, increases oxygen intake, and activates the parasympathetic nervous system. This, in turn, activates the vagus nerve, which produces feelings of wellness and also regulates the autonomic nervous system to balance the stress response. Plus, when meditating, the sound of the sigh, along with the increased sensations in the mouth, gives the mind something to focus on. Pursed lips breathing. Purse your lips as you would if you were going to whistle. Breathe in through your nose, pause, and now breathe out through your pursed lips. This technique is sometimes used by athletes because it helps to improve oxygen capacity. It is also excellent for helping with respiratory conditions such as COPD. And if you happen to ever get short of breath, give it a go. It will increase lung function increase oxygen levels in the blood, and help to remove carbon dioxide, which will make it easier to breathe. Now we are going to increase the vibrational quality of the breath as we move into B breath, a yogic breathing technique. Simply close your mouth and change from a sigh to the sound of a bumblebee when you exhale. So you are breathing out, making the buzzing sound of a bee. Bzzz. This is an exercise often used in yoga classes at the end of the session for some relaxation. You might wonder how the effects of this differ from cyclic sighing. Well, the increased vibrations in the face created by the buzzing sound help to release tension in the face and to relax facial muscles. That relaxation in the facial muscles quickly leads to a calmer mood. And finally, my personal favourite way to breathe during meditation is box breathing. Simply breathing in through the nose to a count of 4, and then pausing for 4, breathing out of the mouth for 4, again pausing and repeating. Research shows that this technique helps to promote activation of the parasympathetic nervous system and helps to focus. It can even improve the quality of your sleep, and it is used by the Navy SEALs. Our meditation sessions are now starting to look really good. We've covered the best meditation techniques for beginners and different types of breath work that we can use to enhance our meditation. Now, let me share with you some of the absolute best tips that I've learned from 20 years of practice. Posture. From my teaching, I know that many people view posture as an unessential bonus, something that's nice but not really needed in order to practice meditation. That is far from the truth. There's a very close relationship between body position and state of mind. Research indicates that good posture can enhance mood and reduce stress. Indeed, one of the easiest ways to focus and to get into the right mindset for meditation is simply to sit with good posture. Oh, you don't need any scientific proof. You can observe this for yourself. Just take a moment to sit with a straight but relaxed spine and notice how your energy immediately changes. This explains why posture has been essential in meditation practices ever since the time of Buddha. Inner tone of voice. I don't think I've read or heard this tip elsewhere. While many guides recommend speaking kindly to yourself, our inner tone of voice also matters significantly. For instance, speaking or thinking softly produces a different feeling than speaking or thinking harshly. I'm not referring to the words we use, but rather the tone, pitch, and quality of the sound. For instance, consider, Self-talk
I accept that my
influences
mind is not
emotional
perfect.
states.
Or,
When
I
meditating,
accept that my
communicate with
mind
yourself
is
in a
not
friendly
perfect.
and peaceful tone, whether you're speaking out loud or in your head. This approach fosters self-love and self-compassion, which are imperative for a successful meditation practice. Explore different meditation techniques. Meditation is a rich and diverse practice. There are over 50 widely recognized meditation techniques, and hundreds more if you include esoteric practices such as the visualization techniques of Theravada Buddhism. Techniques such as open awareness help to increase our creativity, while somatic meditation is excellent for releasing trauma stored in the body, and other meditation techniques equally have their own benefits. Many people stick to just breathing meditation, which is only one of many methods available. I recommend that you at least explore various techniques such as somatic, Ho'oponopono, Tonglen, Karuna, Metta, Mantra, sound healing, and more. Each technique offers its own unique benefits, so be sure to explore your options. You can find guided meditations to most of the popular forms of meditation on my blog and on my YouTube channel. Try the last technique that you're thinking of. Through my teaching, I found that the best meditation technique for you is quite possibly the last one you're thinking of. We tend to choose methods that conform to our biases and to our comfort zones. For example, serious business people might prefer left brain techniques, while creative individuals might lean towards right brain practices. Encouraging individuals to step outside of their comfort zone often leads to breakthroughs. I've guided business professionals to try emotion-based meditations such as metta, and I've encouraged creative individuals to explore left brain techniques like zazen. By encouraging these individuals to try methods that they weren't at first interested in, I've helped them to find a more balanced and fulfilling practice, and indeed a more complete life. Open your eyes slowly. Before working with me, most of my students believed that once a meditation session ended, it was time to immediately return to their normal state. This mindset is counterproductive. After investing time in meditation, it's essential to transition slowly out of your meditation, consciously bringing with you the peace and focus you've cultivated. I always guide my students to open their eyes slowly, bringing with them the enhanced state of mind that they created during their practice. I usually say, our meditation will soon come to an end. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling in your mind and in your body. Carry those feelings with you as we now open our eyes to a count of 5. This deliberate and slow ending of the meditation practice helps us to maintain our mental state once we get off the cushion. Stop trying to clear your mind. Somewhere along the way, many people adopted the misguided belief that meditation is solely about clearing the mind and relaxing. This misconception can hinder progress. While a calm and clear mind is often a cherished outcome, it's a byproduct of the process, not the process itself. The real heart of meditation lies in gaining conscious control over your awareness, understanding your mind, and cultivating compassion. When you strive too hard to calm your mind, you might achieve the opposite. Instead, focus on the instructions of your chosen technique and allow the relaxation part to occur naturally. Know when and when not to control your breath. Before working with me, many of my students were confused about whether or not they were supposed to control their breath, and no surprise. Some teachers, usually the scientific type, will tell you to use a specific breathing technique such as box breathing throughout your entire session. And other teachers, especially Buddhist ones, will tell you to not control your breath at all. Wow, how confusing. The thing is, neither of these is correct. There are times when you should control your breath and there are times when you should not. You want to control your breath and to deliberately deep breathe when you need a bit of a hand relaxing, such as during the first few minutes of your meditation session. This will help to activate your parasympathetic nervous system to produce those feelings of calmness. Then, once you are nice and relaxed, stop controlling your breath and let it come and go as it will naturally. Relinquishing your breath in this way helps your mind to let go, and in turn, that allows you to access a deeper meditative state. Those tips are going to help you to go so far in your meditation practice, but there will still be times when you do face certain hurdles that you need to overcome. So let me now show you some of the best solutions that I found to the most common problems that we face with meditation. Difficulty focusing. Almost everyone struggles to focus at some point, whether it's because of external distractions like environmental noise or your own racing thoughts. The good news is that you can learn to concentrate no matter what. I've even helped people with ADHD, perhaps the mental health condition that has the most impact on focus, to meditate successfully. So how do you do it? Well, to improve, start by reducing external distractions where possible and consider physiological factors. Exercise and limit caffeine. If you're focusing on your breath, try adding a sighing sound. The sound of the sigh gives you more to focus on, plus research shows that sighing by itself helps to alleviate stress. Finally, always be kind to yourself. Remember, this is a journey. Your focus doesn't have to be perfect from the start. Keep practicing. Restlessness and impatience. It's easy to feel restless during meditation. Let's be honest. Most of us are accustomed to overstimulation, such as from movies and video games. Your mind simply is not accustomed to having such a total lack of stimulation as you do when you meditate. And so, when you do meditate, your mind reacts, creating feelings of impatience that might put you off of meditating. When you do experience restlessness or impatience, remind yourself that thoughts and feelings are just temporary and not absolute truths. In Vipassana meditation, we observe thoughts and feelings as they arise and then label them. Research shows that this technique reduces reactivity, meaning you'll be less affected by those thoughts and feelings, and therefore you'll find it easier to focus. Another, less conventional solution is this. When you notice yourself starting to feel impatient, allow yourself to move just a little bit, such as by gently rotating a finger. These slight physical movements help you to release energy, which in turn can reduce restlessness and make it easier to continue meditating. Overactive mind, also known as monkey mind. Many meditators encounter an overactive mind when they close their eyes. This is because when the mind is understimulated, it creates its own stimulation through thoughts and visions. These ruminations can be overwhelming, especially when stress, anxiety, or lack of activity contribute. To manage this, try meditating with your eyes about 20% open. This is what they do in Zazen meditation, the main method used in Zen Buddhism. Keeping your eyes slightly open provides a teensy bit of stimulation for your mind, enough to keep you grounded while not being so much as to distract you. Another technique is yogic pratyahara, where you become mindful of mental nutrition. For instance, you could think of good value mental nutrition as being something like reading a good book, and bad mental nutrition as being something like aimlessly scrolling through social media. Physical discomfort. Discomfort during meditation is common, especially for those with back or knee pain. I'm in my 40s now, and trust me, knee pain is real, especially if I try to kneel to meditate. The good news is that sitting in a formal posture like lotus position is not necessary. In fact, research shows that crossed legs can cause more harm than good. Yes, sit comfortably, and do sit with a straight spine because that helps with grounding and focus, but don't ever force yourself into a position that you're not truly comfortable with. If you find sitting on the floor uncomfortable, you can meditate standing up, which is done in Taoist meditation, and you might also like to consider investing in an ergonomic meditation cushion or bench for additional support. Obviously, there will be times when you have to move to alleviate discomfort, such as when your cat sits on your face, and that's totally fine. Finally, there are certain special meditation techniques that can help to manage pain during meditation, but those are quite advanced, so feel free to contact me on thedailymeditation.com if you're interested in learning more. Unrealistic expectations.
If you take a look online, you will find many reports of insane things that meditation can supposedly do for you, such as allowing you to levitate because screw gravity, and becoming invisible like you're a Marvel hero. So I am not surprised that many people end up with unrealistic expectations about their meditation practice. Some of the most common unrealistic expectations are expecting instant inner peace, believing you'll have perfect focus, and expecting major changes to your personality overnight. It's usually the immediacy that is the most common mistake. Other than a bit of relaxation, a bit of stress relief, you're not going to get that many benefits of meditation immediately after your first time. In fact, science suggests that to get most of the well-known benefits of meditation, you'll need to meditate for about 20 minutes per day for 6 to 8 weeks.
We've covered so much in this guide, and we now know how to meditate properly so that we can get real results. And that's just as well, because if you meditate incorrectly, it can end badly. Take, for instance, these terrible, painful, awful mistakes that I've personally made during my meditation practice. Number 1, I caused myself to have a seizure-like event. So to explain the story, we have to travel back in time to the early 90s when Paulie was just very small. And Super Mario Kart came out for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I fell in love with gaming, and I've been an avid gamer ever since. In fact, at one point, I was a competitive Street Fighter player. During that time, when I was playing Street Fighter competitively, I decided, being an avid meditator, that I'd find out what would happen if I entered a meditative state, kind of the state of samyama, while playing video games. Do you know what happened? Blackness. I fell unconscious and woke up minutes later. I'd forgotten who I was, where I was, and what I was doing. I'm not joking. I literally knew nothing other than the fact that my head was pounding. A moment later, I remember my mum's telephone number back home in England, so I called her. She called my girlfriend over in Canada, which is where I live, and my girlfriend came and whisked me away to the hospital. Later, it was determined via EEG that I had suffered a seizure-like event, and I didn't know how that could possibly happen because I don't have epilepsy. Well, let me tell you how that happened. It turns out that meditating creates a state of hyper-awareness in your brain that can potentially lead to seizure-like events in non-epileptics, especially if you're doing something that is very stimulating, such as playing a video game. Now, don't get me wrong, I love meditation, and trust me, meditation has done me far more good than bad, and it's extremely unlikely that this would ever happen to you. It's like bought out of the blue that it happened to me, but it did happen, and it certainly is one of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made during my meditation practice. Number 2, I caused myself dissociation and dizziness. After my seizure-like event, I was bedridden for about a week. Unwell, there wasn't really a great deal for me to do. And at that time, I hadn't really realized that my meditation practice could in any way have contributed to the event. So, in bed, I continued my meditation practice. And because I didn't have much to do, I would meditate for a good few hours a day. I was mostly doing techniques such as Anapanasati and Vipassana, which is Buddhist insight meditation. Little did I know that those techniques were going to lead me to experience dizziness and dissociation. So, research shows that when we practice techniques like Vipassana, which is when you're observing your thought and then you say, oh, this is just a thought, this is just a thought, you're gradually detaching from your thoughts. And the same thing with your physical sensations. During Vipassana and similar techniques, you're saying, oh, this is just a sensation, and you're literally training your mind to detach from those things. And so, because you're detaching, that can cause dissociation if you do it too much. If you do it just the regular amount, it's actually going to help because you won't be so influenced by your thoughts and feelings. But if you do it too much, then it might lead to dissociation and dizziness, as I mentioned. So many meditation techniques, especially ones that are very relaxing, can actually cause your blood pressure to lower, which is a good thing if you have high blood pressure. But if your blood pressure is already normal or low, then meditating too much can cause it to drop, and lower blood pressure can cause dizziness. So because I was in bed, meditating for too much each day and only doing kind of anapanasati and vipassana, which are dissociative, I caused myself dissociation and dizziness. There's an easy solution for that though. Basically, you want to balance out your dissociative techniques with associative techniques. If you dissociate too much with techniques like anapanasati and vipassana, you want to associate then with things like loving kindness and body scan, which is exactly what monks do. If you think about Buddhist monks, they don't just do mindful breathing. They do mindful breathing to empty their mind and to clear their mind. Then, after that, they'll do various associative things, which, because they're Buddhist, they'll generally, do meditations on the Dharma, on Buddhist teaching. They'll also do mindful movement exercises to associate with the body, and metta, karuna, tonglen, and other techniques to associate with compassion. So if you dissociate, associate. So my mistake, as I mentioned, too much dissociative and relaxing meditation while in bed, causing dissociation and dizziness. Number 3, a silly little mistake that I still sometimes make today. One of the most tempting and easiest mistakes to make is to lie down to meditate and to blatantly fall asleep. I actually did it today. Is that a mistake if it's really enjoyable? Actually, no, it isn't a complete mistake. Indeed, research shows that naps and siestas are good for your mental health. They reduce stress, and after the nap, you actually perform better cognitively. A meditation nap is even better because it just is even more relaxing and even more good for your mind. The problem occurs when meditation naps or meditating lying down and falling asleep becomes the foundation, the backbone of your meditation practice. You want to meditate at least once per day when you don't fall asleep, because meditation isn't just about relaxing. In fact, it's not even primarily about relaxing. It's primarily about gaining insight into the working of your own mind. And it's really hard to do that if you happen to be unconscious. So, with that in mind, feel free to have as many meditation naps as you want, but also try to meditate at least once a day when you don't fall asleep. Number 4, only ever doing mindful breathing. When I was first getting into meditation about the turn of the century, I thought that mindful breathing was the only technique that there is. But of course, that is wrong. There's very many different techniques. There's things like anapanasati, vipassana, loving kindness, somatic, body scan, karuna, kundalini, etc., etc., and so on. There's about 50 different well-known meditation techniques, and if you get into certain spiritual sects, for instance, Theravada Buddhism, there's going to be hundreds of different meditation techniques. What you need to know is that each of those meditation techniques has slightly different benefits. They all share things in common. Most meditations are going to be relaxing, good for concentration, and just generally good for your mental health. But I found that individual meditation techniques are really good at one specific thing. I'm going to give you a few examples. For instance, research shows that loving kindness, metta meditation, is really good at improving compassion and promoting pro-social behavior, and it can also reduce conflicts and strengthen your relationships. Somatic meditation, which is a body-focused meditation technique, is really good at healing trauma that gets stored in the body. And things like samatha and zazen, which are a single-pointed focus meditation technique, are really good at increasing concentration. And so while most meditations share some things in common, they also tend to have one super benefit, let's say.
Super meditation benefit!
They have one way in which they're going to help you more than any other meditation technique. What that essentially means is that to get the most out of meditation, you want to explore your different options. For instance, let's say that you're somebody who is a little bit shy and introverted. Something like Karuna, Tonglen, and Metta, compassion-based meditations, are really going to help you to be more confident with people, which other meditations won't. Similarly, as I mentioned, something like somatic or body scan can really help to release trauma stored in the body. So learn about the different techniques and their individual benefits, and instead of just sticking to mindful breathing, explore your options. Number 5, using meditation as escapism. There was a long period of my life, mostly when I was immigrating from England to Canada, and I was facing a lot of financial stress and moving home, a lot of stress. During that period, I used meditation just to escape. I would not face my stresses. I would not face things that bothered me, that my problems in my life. I didn't tackle them head on. I would just go and meditate. And it didn't help. Sure, meditation relaxes you and it can reduce your stress, but you need to use that to strengthen yourself so that you can overcome the problems in your life. One enlightened way to think about meditation when you are going through periods of stress is think about it like armor. Let's say you have this really stressful thing that you know that you have to do. You're going to have to go and do it soon, and you're trying to get the strength to do it. Meditate, relax, find that inner peace, and use that as the armor that you need to carry yourself into the battle of doing whatever this thing is that's been stressing you. Don't use meditation to escape like I did. It's not going to help you to have a better life. Instead, use it to strengthen yourself so that you can face those challenges head on and achieve the things that you want to achieve in your life. And there we are. The absolute ultimate guide to meditation for beginners. Thank you for joining me. I really hope that you found this helpful. May I ask that if you have found this helpful, you do like, comment, and subscribe, because it takes me a very long time to make this. Also, to really skyrocket your meditation practice and to enjoy all those benefits that you know meditation has to offer you, join me for private meditation sessions on thedailymeditation.com.